right, welcome back to another episode of CMA Podcast. What is going on, everybody? I am here today with Colin Flanagan. Colin, how you doing, sir?
Excellent, Dave. How are you keeping?
Not too bad at all, man. The summer is over here in Switzerland. How's it over there?
It's not looking too good. It's Ireland, so we don't really get a summer. We get a couple of days here and there, so you know yourself.
That's right. The rain gets warmer.
You managed to get out of this place. Yeah, exactly. So
outstanding.
Great to be on with you, Dave. Great to be on with you. I see you've had some big names over the last few weeks.
I got lucky.
Marcus Davis. What the hell?
I got very, very lucky. You see, the thing about it is it depends on the personality, right? I'm reaching out to all the big guys, all the big guns, just to get them on, and hopefully they'll share it, and then I get a bigger following from that, and that's how it all works.
Yeah, exactly.
But some guys are not as forthcoming as others. Like Chuck has made it. Chuck is the man. He came on, dude. We talked for 10, 15 minutes before and after, so he was just one of the guys. But then you get hit with these fucking divas that just want, price scalings, and if you're late it's going to cost you, so you need to prepay. And I'm like, you know what, not paying for anybody. What are you talking about?
No, man, Chuck is a legend, an absolute legend of the game.
Absolutely, just so cool, man. I sent him a message on social media, and within like a day he comes back to me, and I'm just like, I can't believe this is happening. I'm being trolled here. But yeah, it's been great. It's been a great experience talking to these fucking legends,
Of course. Yeah. No, I'm tuning in. I'm watching your podcast, Dave. No, it's great to see. It's great to hear the stories and everybody else's stories around, and stories about your gym and fighters and back in the day, and it brings you back.
Absolutely, man. The bringing it back for me is why I contacted you this week. I'm reliving in my head these moments over and over again as to how things were back in my most active time, which was between 2010 and 2012. Those 2 years, I was at the heyday. You know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Same as that. I was around those years too. So
yeah. So for anybody that doesn't know, and not a lot of people would know, but I'm a former opponent of Colin. We got in there. We got stuck in there together.
That we did.
So there's a lot that you probably don't know, and I'm going to shock you on the fucking internet now with this, bro. The fight night that you had with, I believe, Chris from Limerick. This would have been... Yeah, this would have been in Limerick. I was supposed to fight on that fight night, and the guy that I was supposed to fight against got like a rib injury or something. He's a hurler for someone in Limerick, and if that didn't happen, if I'd gone through with that fight, I would have been absolutely murdered. I was thinking I was way better than what I was, and it was a real shock to the system when I saw what you did in the cage that night. It was the first time I'd ever truly experienced a bloody fight outside of street fights, but we won't talk about that online. But I was supposed to fight on that night, and my coaches and my guys were always kind of saying, "Hey, keep an eye out on the guys around your weight class, because you're probably going to encounter them at some point,
Yeah.
And I saw what you did that night, and I knew who you were from the poster, and I'd seen you at a couple of MMA leagues. And I'm like, all right, this guy's good. This guy's got the frame for it. He's tough. He's tough looking. He can throw pretty much anything. He's got grappling. He's got striking. So how did you start? Where did it all start for you?
See, that's an interesting one, because my reason for getting into it was, I suppose, very different from a lot of other people. So back in 2008, my dad actually passed away from suicide.
Oh, sorry to hear that, man.
It was not at all. It's something that I'm much more open to talk about now. So back then it was kind of there was an awful stigma around it. So I joined Pancration MMA in Limerick with Catherine, Catherine Costigan and Dermot McGrath, early 2009, I believe it was. And my reason for getting into it was purely mental. It was just distract the mind. It was a new sport coming up at the time in Limerick. There weren't many clubs around. MMA wasn't something you heard a lot about back then. But it was just, I instantly fell in love with it. But yeah, for me it was just a mental distraction, and be quite honest about it, it worked. It worked. Getting punched in the face definitely distracts you. So
couldn't agree more. You can't read a book and get punched in the face at the same time.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And like that, with starting off, I probably jumped in a little too early. My first fight was after a number of months. We had a guy in the club who got injured and he was due to fight, and I stepped in instead of him, and I got absolutely annihilated in my first fight. And I believe it was Rumble in Rush was the name of the event, just outside Dublin. And it was against a guy called Fran McCaffrey. And I saw this guy backstage, and quite honestly, I lost the fight before I even got into the cage. I just saw this guy and I went, holy fuck. So, the mental side of it, even inside and outside the cage, is just, there's a lot in it,
It's so true. It's intense, man. It's not just men putting on gloves trying to be, testosterone freaks. There's like even the fight, coming up at the weekend, Fury versus Wilder. Like everyone thinks that it's going to be this like testosterone-driven fire, but it's mind games. It's pure mentality. It's getting in the head of your own of your opponent and things like that. And I completely understand when you see someone backstage. I can only imagine shaved head, muscles, tattoos.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and for whatever reason, he just looked so much bigger than me, or so I thought. So it was a tough fight. It was a tough fight. The first round, he hurt me bad, and at the time it was I can't remember what rules it was, but there was no headshots on the ground. So I got him to the ground and I was like, shit, what do I do now? So I was like, I don't want to stand back up. But no, it was a good experience, and it was just definitely a big learning for the second fight. So
yeah. And was that a fight night that was like a crowd?
Yeah, there was a crowd there. Yeah. And it was a rowdy crowd too. I remember that. It was like in a GA club in the back arse of nowhere. So it was you were backstage and you could hear people roaring, and people want blood, like they want good fights, they want blood. For a newcomer, that's intimidating, and you're going out to a cage or walking through the crowd and they're like, fuck me, what am I doing? But
tunnel vision, no energy, just
exactly. And all through the years I was training or competing, I was a nervous fighter. Before every fight, like if you don't have nerves, there's something seriously wrong with you, or you need to be checked out or something anyway. But I was a nervous fighter before every fight. But I think that fuels you, so you have to use it correctly, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, absolutely. You touched on something there that I talked with one of my ex-training partners, Graham McCormack, with like when you're new in a gym, when you're training and you want to fight, you've got that fire. It's like, I want to be the guy, you got to do it in a way that how do I even phrase this now? When you've got tools like the MMA Leagues, jiu-jitsu competitions, novice boxing fights from gym to gym, when you've got those tools available to you, I think it's wrong that you would put a new guy into a fight night and expect the performance under the lights and the crowd and the people immediately. Like you don't just go straight to Carnegie Hall. You don't just go straight to the big stages and play to big crowds and you're fantastic straight away. You know, you got to build up to it. And it's what happened in our gym. Those guys, a few of those guys were pushed straight on to Cage Warriors. And their first fight was in the Neptune Stadium in Cork, and bright lights, cameras, TV crew, full crowd. You know, that was their first night. That was their first time experiencing a fight, and you know, the victories did not come, you know.
Yeah, it's intense. It gets into your head, you know, and if you let it get into your head, it's it can affect you. And you know, that definitely happened with my first fight. I knew what to expect then going into the second one, and you were at the event in Limerick. You know, it was a pretty big event, and you know, there was a big crowd and it was a big setup. It was even more intimidating than the first fight, but I think you learn a lot, and you carry that forward with you. But yeah, and again, previous to that fight, you know, I was backstage, I was nervous, and I actually picked up an injury going into that fight, and that made me even more nervous. But as soon as that cage door closes, it's just, you know, it's like, fuck it, what are you going to do? You can't get out of here now.
Yeah.
So go for it.
Absolutely. Yeah. And you had a very impressive victory that night. I mean, we're all, you still friends with Chris?
Yeah, still friends with Chris, yeah. We were messaging there a while back. He was sending me some photos and stuff like that. But yeah, it was. I remember seeing Chris before the fight at the weigh-in, and I was thinking, gee, you saw Chris. Like, Chris looks like a mean motherfucker, you know.
Yeah.
Tattoos, and you know, he's a big guy.
Ripped.
I was like, oh fuck, not again, you know. Yeah. But yeah, no, it was a good fight. It was a good fight. I enjoyed it.
Yeah, you got the job done.
I knew Chris was going to come in. I knew he was going to have a strong ground game. I didn't know what his stand-up was going to be like, but my intention for that fight was to keep it on the ground, or keep it standing, should I say? Because I you know, his gym, they were known for their ground game. Yeah. So yeah, that was the intention. That's how it went, thankfully.
Absolutely. So yeah, following on from that, I knew who you were from the posters of that night, and I definitely knew who you were from watching that fucking fight. Fast forward about, let's say, I think it was maybe 6 months to a year later, I had quite a few MMA League fights that particular year. So I knew what it was like to get in there on mats with like the crowd or the other fighters. There's no cameras. It's like, you know, you're posting on social media your weight and shit like that. But there was very, very little pressure, you know.
Yeah.
So I got my hand raised a few times. I knew what it was like to get smothered. I knew what it was like to eat a few kicks. Like, my whole thing was jiu-jitsu. I had no boxing at that point. I was just an MMA guy who could do jiu-jitsu, you know what I mean? And then we hit the MMA Leagues in Cork, and, you know, I meet all the guys, all the boys walk in, hey lads, how things, so blah, blah, blah. And then you weigh in, you put your name down, and what's your man's name from Galway puts up the names of who's fighting.
Oh, yes, yeah.
Gareth or Gary or something like that.
Something like that, yeah, not sure.
And I look at my name and I see Colin fucking Flanagan. I'm like, Jesus Christ. Oh. So I had a fight. My first cage fight was scheduled for 4 weeks, like a month later. So this was, for me, I was treating this as hard sparring. I was like, let's go, you know. There's two people that I feared, and I'm talking about genuine fear. It was you and a guy called Chris O'Donoghue from Waterford. Two absolute animals in my head. I just thought, these guys are so aggressive. I'm used to the beautiful jiu-jitsu sport, you know, of flowing grappling, and then I see your name next to mine, Dave Keane versus Colin Flanagan, and I'm like, bollocks. So genuine fear.
The leagues are interesting because until the day, as you say, you didn't know who you're fighting. At least going into a cage fight, you know who you're fighting, or you can get some info on them. But you know, sometimes you didn't know who you're fighting until they were standing directly opposite you. You know, so it was cool in one way, you know. But as you said, it was hard sparring, but it was great. I found it great training, or great, you know. if you were coming up to a fight, a cage fight or whatever, it was good once you didn't get injured.
So, yeah, you know, shin pads, you're throwing kicks and knees, and you can grapple, no head strikes on the ground, no elbows, none of that. Like, so my first fight, I don't know if you even remember these fights, but I remember them so clearly. My first fight, I fought a guy from Waterford, and you know, I did very well. I choked him out with a mounted triangle, then he kind of flipped me, and I got the actual triangle tap.
I remember that fight.
Sweet.
I was watching. That was in Cork as well, was it?
That was Cork.
That was before. Yeah. I remember that because I knew I was fighting you, so I was watching your first fight.
Yeah, I was watching your fucking first fight too, bro.
Yeah, I think that first one, it was I went by TKO by leg kicks. No, sorry, it was TKO by leg kicks. It was it was kind of a knee to the chest. I think it was the final kick. So
it was awful to watch. In full disclosure, it was awful to watch. Yeah, so I had my first win. I thought, fuck it, brilliant. And then I just remembered I'm fighting you next, like fucking dessert. So I knew what you did against Chris. I knew what you just did an hour previous in your first fight. So like I just was so scared, bro. I'll be honest with you, in full disclosure, it was the first true time I've experienced fear. And I say this hoping that my guys at the gym are listening, because I'm not saying this for clickbait, or I'm not saying this just for drama. I was so scared, and my guys, Graham and I think Sean Tobin, were there cornering me and basically asked, what's the game plan? Who is this guy? And I just went, it's Colin Flanagan, and the game plan is don't die. So I just said, I cannot. I was super skinny, I was tall, but I'd never experienced your frame ever before. And I just thought, get it to the ground as quickly as you possibly can, stay away from his knees, and just grapple from the top. Like, do not let him get on top of you. He is heavy. He disperses his weight. I saw you on the ground against Chris Flynn. So I'll play the clip here. I just remember we brought together by the referee, back to our neutral corners. I just remember thinking, this is not going to be my best day. We high-fived. I danced around you for a little bit. I just saw how fucking blocky you were. And I think I ran in for the takedown. I tried to get the takedown. I in my head, I thought I got the takedown. You got my neck, and you more or less pulled guard. And I thought, excellent. I took him down. Okay, he's got my neck. Defend. Okay, I'm defending. Okay, unconscious.
Yeah. I remember that fight. I watched that fight a few times, you know, and I actually watched it a couple of times this morning, you know, because I had an idea we'd be chatting about it. Yeah. But it was I had a feeling you tried to go to the ground. But yeah, I'd say I remember you going for the legs, and I just remember the neck was there, and when I got the hand around, I went, oh shit, I have the neck. So it was I wasn't expecting it, if you know what I mean. Yeah. In my opinion, if you don't mind me saying, because you know your ground game was, and I've seen your ground game. Your ground game is far better than that. For me, I'd say it was a lapse of concentration. I'd say, you know, and it was just the neck was too high, and it was, you know, you know this game, Dave. If the smallest thing, someone will pounce on it, you know. So it's you know, you have to take those opportunities when they come.
Yeah, man, you took it. You took that fucking opportunity very quickly. But you're absolutely right in what you're saying. I let the fear. Here's the thing, and I don't want anybody to confuse what I'm about to say either, because I think this is I'm not trying to say that I'm courageous or brave or any of that shit, but not letting fear hold me back in accepting the fight. I could have just walked away. I said, I don't want to fight Colin Flanagan. That was not in my that's not in my mind to do. I said, fuck it, I'm going to get in there. You know, I'd never let my coaches or my guys know that I was afraid. But I let the fear get in the way of my game plan, my technique, the actual task at hand. Because I was just always worried about what you're going to do to my fucking ribs.
Yeah, I think you know, you hit the nail on the head. You know, it's easy to think too much about what the other person's going to do and not concentrate on what you're actually going to do and your game plan. And going back to the first fight, you know, against Fran McCaffrey, as I said, you know, I was intimidated. When I saw him backstage, my game plan just went out the window, you know, and I was just worried about what he was going to do to me rather than what I was going to do to him, you know. And it's an easy thing to happen, you know. Yeah,
it really and truly is very, very easy, because if I'd studied medicine for 6 years, I'd be a doctor, but we can't say that. But I think we would have had a much longer, much better fight if I didn't let my image of your last fight with those knees and leg kicks get in my head, because I think I would have been able to at least try a better takedown. I literally just went neck first into your fucking chest. I'm like, nah, maybe not a good idea to do that. But it was a super enjoyable experience, because people think that fighters hate each other and we're nasty people, and you know, we're just playing a sport. Like, it's not football or hurling or whatever. We're getting in there and we're getting stuck into each other. But at the end of the day, you and me sat down, we had a sandwich and a bottle of Coke, I think about an hour later, you know what I mean?
Yeah, we had a good chat. I remember myself, you and Chris Flynn was actually there that day as well, yeah. I remember the three of us talking, you know, and it was it's good because you were two guys I had competed against recently, so it was it's, you know, it's easy to dislike someone for losing a fight or getting hurt, but you know, it takes a lot to actually you know, have that friendship with someone afterwards. And, you know, myself and you, although not as much as I would like, but you know, we stayed in contact over the years. And not too long ago, a couple of years ago, I remember you sending me videos when I had my little daughter. You were sending me videos of your kids just jumping around behind you and fucking diving off couches, and you scared the shit out of me, by the way. There was I with this little baby and I was watching your kids. I was like, oh shit, is it too late to give this back?
Oh, it gets worse, bro. Let me tell you that.
Oh, tell me about it. You wouldn't change it for the world.
Absolutely not, you know what I mean? And like, to be able to sit back and share these moments and talk about it after, and now that we see the turn of the entertainment era in like MMA, like especially with UFC, the forefront of MMA, you know, all this trash talk and all this nastiness, and it's just taking an awful turn, you know. I want to sit down with my opponent and say, like, I'll always say this about the last guy I fought, Killian O'Sullivan, and especially with people like you who I can sit back and after and talk about these moments and say, listen, it's because of all of these experiences and learning curves and failures and defeats and losses and, you know, fucking tears shed over embarrassment and whatever shapes you into what you become today, you know. I'm happy with that, and I appreciate everything that you've done for me in that sense.
Yeah, and I get the whole trash talking side of it, and everybody has a different approach to a fight, no matter who you are. You know, you can be friendly with your opponent. You may need that trash talking to hype you up. You know, each to their own. Whatever motivates you. But you know, I think there comes a point as well where and we you know, you see it a lot in UFC. Insults can go too far. You know, when you're bringing people's families into it, that's crossing the line. But you know, do whatever you need to do to fuel yourself. But you know, stay in your lane as well. You know, don't cross that line. Yeah,
I couldn't agree more. Otherwise, you won't be able to sit down and podcast years later and talk about it. You know.
Yeah, exactly.
In 20 years, we'll see Conor and Khabib sit down, do a podcast. CMA podcast, if we're big enough, I'll host it. Fuck it.
Yeah, if Conor's still alive at that stage. The road he's going.
Jesus, yeah, man. And what are you doing now? Are you training? Are you fighting? What are you doing?
So I'm not fighting at the moment. If I'm honest with you, I got back training in the gym around, I'd say 12 to 18 months ago now. Over the years, I suppose, Dave, I look at, like everybody, like absolutely everybody, I had stuff going on at home, personal things, and I let certain things spiral out of control from myself. So over the last few years, especially with the birth of my daughter Cara, it definitely refocused me and put me back on the right track. So I think over the years I had put on a lot of weight, and with the help of a local guy here, John Fitz. He's an online trainer, but he's his own local gym here in Newcastle West. He helped me get back on track with my nutrition and training and everything. So I think I went from 106 kilos last year down to 79. So I'm back down to 79 now. So I'm feeling good. So feeling really good. So training's going well. And I'm looking at going back to Muay Thai shortly. So
Sweet.
get back doing a bit anyway. Age is against me, Dave, so I'd say competing for a while is off the cards, but the training, I miss the training, I miss the sparring, I miss the camaraderie, in the gym and talking to the guys. So that's whatever about the fighting, the guys in the gym, as it's they're like family at times. I made some really good friends over the years, so yeah.
Yeah, I agree.
So,
the camaraderie is exactly what I was missing, and this is why I set this shit up here, a CMA podcast. So just to talk about it with people locally, people like yourself back home.
Yeah.
And as you say, getting old, age isn't with us. Sparring is still a possibility as long as we're not taking the heads off each other every night.
Yeah, exactly.
But yeah, that's exactly what we're doing here now as well, but we're doing it outside.
Have you any thoughts on getting back inside, Dave, or is that a little bit away yet?
No, I'm looking at places every week. I'm viewing places twice a week, and places are good, places are clean, places are ready to go, but landlords are just not willing to be anywhere near flexible in the signing of the lease. They literally want to discuss in the event of when it happens, and I said, well, we need an agreement in place, otherwise financially it just won't be possible. You want us to sign a 5-year lease and we could be down for 2 of those years,
Yeah, I know what you mean. Yeah, no, I suppose the winters in Switzerland, I suppose they'd be tough to train outside.
Rocky style.
How bad?
We got the first taste of it this week, Colin. The weather changed. It got really icy cold, like 9 degrees with a wind. And it's nasty because we're right at the foot of the Alps, so we get the proper wind here in Luzern. And, we got to have the hood up, and still the ice wind gets in your fucking system. It's just like not good for next day recovery,
Getting a punch off an icy glove. I can't imagine that's nice.
Oh, Jesus, no. The hard sweat on the front of the 16-ounce glove is never good, bro.
Oh, I can't imagine so. But
yeah, I think that's good for today, man. I appreciate your time coming on. It was a pleasure. Since you agreed to come on to this, it was a pleasure reliving the moment that we shared, like, albeit short.
Look, it was a short fight, but I think we stayed friends after it, which is a good thing. So it's it was a pleasure to fight. It's a pity we didn't get to do it in the cage at some stage, but it's it is what it is. We'll take what we got.
Yeah, man, it was an absolute pleasure, as I said, to relive it in my mind, because those 2 specific years shaped me and what I mentally became. I became way more mentally strong after getting many sore, broken noses and black eyes in the gym, and it just made me all the better. So I'm very appreciative for all of that. Training partners, former opponents, coaches, you name it, man. It's all part of the one package for me.
Yeah, it is. It's, as I said, Pancration and Dermot McGrath and Catherine Costigan were the ones who started me out in MMA, and they're still going strong. So, well, I hope, all's going well with the gym. COVID has had its toll on everybody. But at the same time, you know, it's I hope the guys are doing well with the club, you know.
Yeah, man, they're posting their social media beasts, man. I love what they're doing.
Yeah, it's cool.
Yeah.
It's great to see.
Absolutely.
It brings back memories.
Man, I see the bags in the cage in that gym. I've never actually been in that gym, but I just, from watching Catherine's pre-fight training posts and stuff, dude, I just like back in the day, you know, just the memories of walking in. You've been in the boxing clinic, you know?
Yeah.
Just the smell, the reception, the bathrooms, the shower after. When the fighters came, we had the seminar with Chuck and the questions and answers with Vanderlei. We had the gym fight days, you know, where other gyms would just come in and we'd do cage days. Good days, man. Amazing.
Yeah, good times.
Absolutely, man. Thank you very much again for joining me.
Anytime, Dave. It's a pleasure.
Oh, man, pleasure's all mine. Subscribe to my podcast. Hit like, share it with your friends. Tell other people, guys. Just give me thumbs ups, thumbs downs. I don't give a fuck. Just do something. It helps the algorithm. We're also on. I know, man. This is what you got to do when you're a YouTuber these days, right? Fuck. Also, Apple Podcast and Spotify. Go give us a rate and review. Make sure it's good and positive because I want to grow this and help local businesses in Lucerne. Guys, thank you very much again for joining us. Colin, a pleasure. Thank you again, my man.
Anytime, Dave.
Take care of yourself.